Wall Street Unplugged looks beyond the regular headlines heard on mainstream financial media to bring you unscripted interviews and breaking commentary direct from Wall Street right to you on Main Street.
What's going on there? It's January 29th. And I'm Frank Curzio, host of the Wall Street Unplugged podcast. We break the headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. Daniel Creech, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Frank.
Love having you in the Wednesday podcast, which means I was too busy to get an interview. Basically.
It means, thanks for filling in. You're welcome.
I've been traveling so much and stuff like that. It's been crazy and a lot of stuff coming up. I mean, we have remarkable things going on here. And I'm not just saying that. We have a great idea of Curzio One, which is most of our credit investors, a private deal that's exclusive to us that we're getting in, and we're following someone who's wealthy and has made a ton of money doing this and getting into these deals. And this is the one deal he's focusing on. He's doing lots of stuff. We have a live event tomorrow. Live event, right? No joke. So live event's pretty cool, which we don't do often, but it's going to be about crypto. And Daniel and I are going to do, again, when we say live, we mean live. A lot of people will sometimes say live, and it's not really live. But we're live. We're really live, right? So it's not a joke. And it's going to be about crypto, and we're going to highlight several important catalysts. Now, hear me, because if you listen to this for the podcast first time, you're going to say, this guy is an idiot. He's full of shit. I don't make claims like this, okay? Dan's over there laughing right now. I don't make claims like this, but I'm going to tell you. These catalysts, including one that was mentioned yesterday, this is what we're going to cover, okay? We've done several of these live events with crypto telling you that when it's 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, 70,000, it was going to 100,000, and a lot of the altcoins are going to benefit tremendously, right? We've been pushing that initiative, and it's happened. This is the next stage now that Trump's got elected. A lot of stuff's going on under the hood that nobody's mentioning. It's going to push Bitcoin significantly higher. And the news that came out yesterday, my target for Bitcoin, okay? Maybe I shouldn't say my target, but it could push Bitcoin. You've never heard me say this, to $1 million in 2 years. I've never made a claim like that. You guys know that I almost never make claims like that. I'm very real with you. I'm going to put the math behind it. Okay, I'm an analyst. I'm not going to show you and say, oh, you know what? Nvidia is going to go to 7,000 and just, without any numbers behind it. It's simple math of the news that I announced yesterday of why this could happen. I'm not going to take it by Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to do great. A lot of you should own it for the 7 years we've been covering this sector. But there's altcoins underneath that have amazing technology. We're going to share two of them that are going to change the landscape of the financial industry. I'm going to give them away for free. Okay, and then at the end of this, we're going to have a special promotion and a special discount for our product, for Crypto Intelligence, because I want all of you to be in crypto. You need to be in crypto, not just Bitcoin, not Ethereum, not Solana. Those are the main ones. But now that we have a regulatory structure behind this, this industry is about to take off tremendously. You're going to see trillions, literally trillions of dollars flowing into this industry over the next 5 years. It's like being in AI 4 years ago, 3 years ago. That's the gains that you're going to make very, very quickly in this sector. We're going to cover all of it. And tomorrow, it's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m., okay, Daniel and I are going to be hosting. To register, you can go to CurzioCrypto.com, and afterwards, it's only going to be like a 10, 15-minute presentation. I'm going to dial it down. It's not going to be boring. I'm going to tell you things that are not being highlighted out there of why this whole industry is about to take off, especially starting now. It's already starting, but it's going to go a lot higher over the next couple of years. But afterwards, Daniel and I usually sit back, have a couple of beers, and there's a Q&A, and we just answer any questions you have. So there's no excuses, no college football games on, no Thursday night football, only a Super Bowl left. And yes, Daniel, who's in the Super Bowl, buddy?
That's right, your Eagles. Did you see there's $8 million is what the commercial charges?
That's what it is. It's $8 million this
year?
year?
That's what CNBC reported today.
Holy cow.
$8 million per commercial.
There's no inflation.
Per commercial.
There's no inflation. Just like there was no inflation at Davos with the girl, what was it? The
hookers.
Yeah. Escorts. Come on,
Escorts,
man.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean that as a compliment.
Come on.
I don't mean that really.
They charge $4,400 a night compared to $2,500 last year. What the hell? Holy cow.
So
there's no inflation.
Are you telling me the difference between a hooker and an escort is $2,000?
I think we should move on, because what we do have, seriously, is I love when Hannity says this and everyone says it. It's breaking news. This is really breaking news. Okay, I'm going to come at you with this because you guys know what I love to do is be an investigative reporter. I love to look under the hood. I've learned this about so many projects that the EPA is a bullshit organization. It's all political. I learned this because they made up shit about a project that I saw Northern Dynasty, which is actually doing very well right now. Everyone's asking me about that. They have this Pebble project in Alaska, and when I went there, they said there's rivers flowing through, and if they get this mine approved, which is the largest undeveloped copper and gold mine, that it's going to result in all this contamination and sockeye salmon, which is 140 miles away in Bristol Bay, all this shit, right? This company paid over $100 million in independent studies. And the EPA said, we don't even give a shit. We're not approving this. And when I went there personally, because you got to take 2 airplanes and a helicopter to get there in the middle of nowhere, I'm like, where are the rivers? They're like, there's no rivers. They didn't exist. They lied. This is a person that went to fracking and all the major areas. If you're looking at North Dakota, the Eagle Ford, the Permian Basin, Celis, everything in Pennsylvania, going into these areas and going with professionals where when I first started going there with all the stories I read, I thought there was going to be earthquakes everywhere and I was going to fall into a hole, or I thought there was going to be dead animals everywhere. And I found out it was all bullshit. Could cause water contamination. Again, people don't believe that, but if you do the facts, they're there, right? So even during COVID, right, and being able to interview people on lockdown in China, in Italy, in Europe, 3-4 days before it even hit here, and giving you guys a real story of what the fuck's going on, and we pulled everything out of the market, right? So what I'm going to tell you right now is about DeepSeek. Doing a ton of research on this, talking to my best contacts. As you know, if you listen to us and we report on China, we're probably one of the best when we report on China. We've been wrong about things we say we're wrong. We address our losers. We learn from them. China, we've been really right on for a long time because we have great contacts there, especially one guy who always says, never use my name, which I always love, and I'm not going to use his name. I just say that because I want to give people credit because this isn't coming from me. This is coming from my sources, okay? And my sources who are credible, who have been doing this for 30 years, and some have been sources for decades. But with China telling you to avoid it, it's a depression, it's horrible. And, again, we just have really good sources in China, especially with COVID, that have helped us tremendously and help you tremendously. So I just want to say thank you. This is the biggest story on the planet, by far. And you're looking at DeepSeek, which came out on Monday, and they released a large language model that said, hey, we're just as good or even better than ChatGPT-4. We're on par. Look, here it is. It's great. And the biggest thing is it costs 250 times less to operate than ChatGPT, and it uses 1/10 of the power. It was a big deal because we have the largest hyperscalers literally spending $80 to $100 billion a year each, pretty much, and planning to keep spending that over the next few years to build these models. And now look at the energy infrastructure. We don't have enough energy, which I'm pounding the table on it. Listen, for the energy needs that is required, we need massive infrastructure development right now. We've been pushing that issue so much. Now, Monday, when DeepSeek came out, the technology companies associated with AI and energy companies crashed. They outright crashed. The biggest company in the world is Nvidia. It fell 17%, lost $600 billion in one day. Ooh. In one day. What is that, like 3 McDonald's? Right? What's McDonald's market cap these days? I think it's around whatever, 200, 300, whatever it is. And it wiped out more than $1 trillion in market cap in the S&P 500.
3 of them. It's about
right?
200.
3 of them. Wow, that was good. How do you know that market? I mean, it's remarkable.
Well, I'm rounding.
When you put, what'd you say?
I said I'm rounding, but no.
Around. And I said, Dan just checked. I'm like, all right, good job. So Dan does a good job. Because if I'm wrong, he's like, you're wrong. But if I'm right, he's like, hey, you got it right. Which is great. I love Daniel, right? But everyone's out there. Please fact check me all the time. I throw out lots of statistics and stuff like that. And I may be wrong. So but what I'm about to tell you is a lot of things that you haven't heard, okay? I'm going to present videos to you that were on YouTube for about 3 seconds before they got removed, and people, this person sent them to me. And this is from videos from people who are influencers in China. You see a lot of stuff. He sends me a lot of stuff. The reason why I know it's depression in China is because he sends me these videos that immediately get banned and suppressed. And it's from people reporting in China, and they're on YouTube. So we found too that we were able to get a hold on that. You're not going to find them anyplace else. They're hard to find. You might find them if somebody else has them. We got them from someone else who's doing really great reporting as well. But I wanted to play these to you because there's a lot going on. When I dug deep into the story, when I say I dug deep into the story, it's not just with the contacts. We're fortunate. I've been doing this for a long time. We have access, Daniel and I, to all research reports across every single sell-side firm. Sell-side firms are the big firms, like, the JP Morgans, Goldman Sachs, okay? I read every single one of them, okay? From Jefferies saying there could be negative implications for hyperscalers and builders, so they're a little worried, to UBS saying that tier 1 hyperscalers would be able to raise prices, as now this will be easy to scale, so costs go down, but to use these models, right? So using these models, they could charge even more. Bank of America, who believes DeepSeek has created this overblown concern in AI semis. to JP Morgan, who said if DeepSeek's AI assistant that can run on low compute power notebooks and possibly smartphones takes off and takes AI to the consumer market, that would be a significantly positive scenario for semiconductor equipment. They're saying that because right now, outside of AI, everything within semiconductors sucks. It's a horrible, PCs are down, phones are down, autos are down, autos are getting crushed. Look at GM's numbers, look at Ford. We highlighted that 9 months ago of that, how that industry was totally overblown, that you get out of those stocks immediately because there's just so much fucking inventory, right? So if you look at AI and everything they go to, those markets are all very, very weak except for AI, right? So the companies like the Broadcoms are really kicking it. ASML, you look at of course, the Nvidias, right, doing well. AMD is kind of slow and they've been getting their ass kicked, but the ones who are not benefiting from AI have been really not doing that well. So if this is true, you're going to see a big sell-off, and that's why JP Morgan's saying, hey, this is going to result in a positive scenario for semiconductor equipment. With that said, Daniel and I have been doing a lot of research on this, and having the great contacts in China really, really helped me here. Now, he sent me 2 videos. Okay, again, one's Chinese influencer, another person very, very brilliant, and I'm going to play these to you, okay? I'm going to translate them. I'm translating them because they have subtitles. Not because I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said, you guys would have thought I was so freaking smart. I shouldn't have said that. Damn it, I should have
Frank
said that.
speaks Chinese.
Holy shit, man, Frank is really smart. I'm not smart. I just work hard, and I listen to a lot of smart people than me, okay? That's what this podcast is about, and I have a great network that goes out actually to 120 countries, which is mind-boggling to me with this podcast. I'm going to play these for me and Daniel come in. Okay. Now, this first one I'm going to play for you. This is a gentleman's he's a tech influencer. He's very smart. A lot of people listen to him. And again, I'm going to translate this because a lot of you listen to this on iTunes. If not, please go to our YouTube channel, right? Curzio Research and the Wall Street Unplugged. Go there. You'll be able to see this and you'll see him. It's got subtitles on the bottom, but I'm going to go over that with you. This way you can hear it in case you don't have access to that. So let's take a first listen to the very first video and here it is right now. China's DeepSeek shocked the American tech world. Global AI leaders can't believe the American AI industry is being threatened, and Nvidia stock is shaken. My cell phone is flooded with this news. To summarize, our DeepSeek is capable of using low-cost chips to handle computation for developing breakthrough models. It appears that way with only 2,048 GPUs, 2 months of training, and $5.58 million in costs. Meanwhile, ChatGPT-4 uses 25,000 A100 GPUs with 100 days of training and spent just $100 million. This comparison made his claim we're far ahead in all areas. There's something wrong. Why? If you gather all the news about China being far ahead of the world, you make a shocking discovery. Whenever some major technological breakthroughs are announced globally, a certain Chinese company declares that China is far ahead. After some time, you never hear about them again. Why is that? Daily Economic News did a study. If you ask DeepSeek, who are you? It often answers, I'm ChatGPT-4. If you ask what its API is, it'll give you OpenAI's API user manual. If you go deeper, you'll see that even the jokes it tells are exactly the same as ChatGPT-4's. Okay, so this person is saying how this model, when he used it, is basically a copycat, a real copycat. Like he was asking it, it's like, no, I'm ChatGPT, right? So what does that mean? It means that if you're looking at the costs and everything and how this is so cheap, none of this would have happened unless ChatGPT spent all this money, unless a lot of these companies spent all this money, because it's basically pulling all the information off of other systems. Okay? That's the first part. That's something I think you're not really hearing out there. You're hearing a little bit of it, but this is a person that immediately got suppressed, right? You're not going to find the video anywhere. Now, I want you to listen to this one. It's from a lady who is an AI expert, very smart, founded 2 tech companies. And you can hear her. She's not biased. She actually wants this system to be what it is, right? Because she's Chinese. She's like, I want this to work, right? But listen to this. And again, this is a video that was also banned. Take a listen. This afternoon, I used DeepSeek and ChatGPT to solve a logic problem. DeepSeek gave me the wrong answer while ChatGPT provided the correct one. Many people sent me messages accusing me of smearing DeepSeek. As an AI entrepreneur in China, I gain nothing from criticizing the app. As someone in the AI field, I hope Chinese large language models can take off from where they are and reach the top. I deeply wish for a large model that is both easy to use and inexpensive. The internet storm isn't about generally praising DeepSeek. It's overhyping it. This kind of hype is destroying it. It's not objective at all. I can tell you, as an AI entrepreneur, I've used DeepSeek. They've reduced the gap with OpenAI, which is significant. This achievement is outstanding and deserves recognition. But don't go overboard. For a startup company, this kind of overhype is not beneficial. I'm involved in AI development too. So I understand that it's perfectly normal to encounter small technical problems. What if the second or third iteration isn't as good as the first? What will you do? Will you say it's no good? As observers, we need to remain calm and objective. The gap we have with OpenAI is narrowing. But you say we've surpassed them? There's no way. Even now, if you ask DeepSeek's founder, Liang Wenfeng, he wouldn't dare to claim that his company has surpassed OpenAI. Okay, I find it crazy how she claims the founder of DeepSeek, which I'll get to in a minute, he would never claim that this large language model is on par with ChatGPT-4. Okay. That's what she said. He would never claim that. And notice how this guy isn't even around, right? So you know, first off, when I listen to these videos, Daniel, you used to listen to these videos. What is your take first? Because we're going to really get deep into it right now. And please share this with anyone you have, anyone you know in technology. Our job is to get the story right. I want people to come back and say, Frank, you know what? This might not be right. This isn't right. Here's what I found. That's how you uncover it through a network. And for me, we want to get the story right because this is going to determine $1 trillion was wiped off on Monday in market cap. $1 trillion in one day because of this story. I mean, what would you pay for that? Again, we're going to get to this in a minute, but Daniel, what's your first take on this?
My first take, Frank, is I think that this is one of the best puzzles out there right now being, I think the excitement of what's being talked about on mainstream media and then what's kind of outside of mainstream media is really interesting, and it's going to come to the light, and I think it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. Now, I guess I'll start with what you just said on, so I watched a handful of videos, including the one you're talking about, and what I appreciate and wanted to kind of open up with is it seems to be that the knee-jerk reaction was, hey, if you don't need this money and this computing power to pull this off, then the U.S. is just overspending and doing all this stuff. However, what you just said and all the videos, at least what aggravates me is it's not exciting, so they don't keep touching on this point. But what you just said, if this new breakthrough in DeepSeek needs all the other ones, including Nvidia, that means that this can't pass. And I know you saw this too in the first clip, where you can't have a student pass the teacher in this sense, in this large language model. And I thought that was very interesting. I watched two quick videos and I was impressed. And I mentioned this one to you. They were showing how you could just ask it DeepSeek to create a program, write code in Python, I believe, to play different games, Tetris, Snake, etc. And they were recording it, and it did it flawlessly. Not 100% flawlessly, but it created the game, and it did it very quickly, and these creators were impressed. I think that's impressive. However, on none of those channels, Frank, did I hear that what you just said, it mentioned itself as ChatGPT-4, or it wouldn't answer. I was reading through some other articles, not as pro-China, and of course they're saying that when it asked who's the president of Taiwan, of course, didn't have any answer to that. It said, I can't answer that. Mm-hmm. Now, that means input in, input out. Kind of makes you think of government intervention. But that's Daniel's quick take. What got your attention after Lee's Real Talk?
I mean, I wanted to look at it in, not just a talk, but I wanted to look at what these stocks are doing a couple days later, because always this overreaction. I got to tell you, if you look at Nvidia sold off to like 118 from 140, and then it bounced back to like 128. Now it's down today. Yeah. Right? So this is 2 days later, almost 3 days later, right, if you include all day Monday, that you're saying, okay, you're digesting it, and still the news hasn't come out to really debunk this story. And that's why I think what we're reporting right now is very important. And wait till we get a little deeper here. It's going to get really fucking interesting. I'm not kidding you. But now I look at Meta, and Meta nobody really has come out and said anything. I don't blame them, right? They want to see what the hell's going on, whatever. It doesn't make sense for them to say, oh yeah, this works and we wasted all of our money that we spent. So they're digging in too. But the thing is, Meta and Microsoft both report after the close today. And you can guarantee as soon as they're done reporting the numbers and how great they are and how much they're spending, the very first question from that analyst is going to be like, what the fuck's going on with DeepSeek? And that's when you're going to get information where that can really move the market tomorrow to where they're like, hey, this is garbage. This isn't right. This is BS. And I know a lot of people. Now, listen, we're going to dig in deep here because this system is available for some, but not all. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what happened in China, which, again, a lot of this is suppressed based on my contacts. So China media was ecstatic. It makes sense, right? When they announced this news, they were like, holy, this is great, right? They announced that this was their Pearl Harbor, right? This surprise attack, right? Releasing this and crashing the U.S. markets. Yet, when you look at DeepSeek, a lot of people were lined up outside of their headquarters and they wanted to interview them, and they didn't allow any outside media to interview them. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Because they're humble, Frank,
Why?
And they don't want the limelight.
Yeah, but they actually said, the company officially said they're not engaging in any external collaborations, but will focus its research efforts to deliver more powerful models. Really? Because after that happened, they also restricted anyone overseas from downloading DeepSeek. They blamed it on this malicious virus. Wow, isn't that perfectly timed? So I don't even know why they had to say malicious virus, because anyone in the U.S. cannot download this because you need a Chinese telephone number. Okay, you need a telephone number. A lot of these models, you put in the phone number or whatever and email and stuff like that. If you have a U.S. number, it's only going to register. So you need a number registered in China. Now, so it's restricted to China, which we know, China lies about everything, right? I mean, it sounds familiar. Look at Wuhan. Okay, they didn't let anyone in there who were like, hey, the U.S. wants to help. The WHO wants to help. The World Health Organization was the biggest piece of shit garbage organization in the world because China said to the WHO, you can't come in. And then 3 months later, the WHO said China handled the situation great. They were awesome when you didn't even fucking know the story, right? So you wonder why Trump's pulling all the funding from him. That's the reason why, right? So they didn't let anyone investigate the origins of COVID, which, by the way, CEI miraculously, now that we have Trump in the White House, it has reversed course and said that, oh, we think it was, we were wrong. And it originated from Wuhan, something, fourth graders knew 5 years ago when it happened, right? This is the central, right here. I shouldn't be saying this with my shirt on. Central Intelligence Agency. Thank you very much for someone who got me contact to get these types of shirts. I'm going to wear tomorrow I'm wearing another one, which is really cool. It's not CIA, but this is a really cool shirt that I'm wearing today. Now, let's get back to DeepSeek. Because they claim how DeepSeek is able to cut costs significantly through its model, where its model costs $6 million, which is the big deal. This is a market-moving event, right? So the model costs $6 million to train compared to over $100 million for OpenAI, claiming that it used old NVIDIA chips. When we say old NVIDIA chips, we talk about real old from 2 years ago. Having 2 years ago, it's like you bragging about having an Atari system as your main system right now. That's what we're talking about. That's how old we're talking in AI terms of the chips that they used. So it also uses far much less electricity, meaning do we really need to spend hundreds of billions of energy infrastructure, including building these massive data centers? And that's why you saw even REITs that focus on this. We saw energy plays. We saw uranium come down, natural gas players come down. The whole energy sector really fell down tremendously. That focuses on the AI part of it. However, and there's always a however, DeepSeek's founder, his name is Liang Wenfeng. Get ready to get blown away. This gets really cool now. In 2022, he said this. Okay, this guy rarely does interviews. I think they have him doing 2 in the past 3 years. It's supposed to be brilliant. He said he built up a ton of NVIDIA H100 chips. This is what he said. This is the higher version, not the older version, right? These are currently banned due to U.S. restrictions. He said they built them up to the tune of $50,000, which was repeated by that guy who was on TV in Davos.
Yeah.
What's the name of that company? You remember?
Scale AI.
Scale AI. See, as a 24-year-old, it's like the youngest self.
24-year-old billionaire. Yeah.
Billionaire. He said 50,000, and they were like, wait a minute. Well, that doesn't make sense. He's getting this from. This is repeated from Liang Wenfeng, who is DeepSeek's founder in 2022. 50,000. If it's true, again, this is coming from the founder of DeepSeek, who is MIA, by the way. No one knows where he is. You can't say he's not doing anything with the media. That would cost $1.5 billion, not $6 million, if that's true. What he said, the founder said. In the black market, which is the only way they can get these chips in China, it would cost probably double that. And it's not going to be that difficult to get those types of chips because you're working with the Chinese government. Okay, so the black market, many speculate that this is the reason why, who's CoreWeave, right? Who's CoreWeave? CoreWeave's this big guy who's buying, nobody knew who it was, a bunch of hedge funds, I think, that came together, and everyone's like, wow, is NVIDIA's numbers real? Because CoreWeave is accounting for a lot of these sales of these chips in the quarters and stuff like that. And I argued, look, it's just a smart company that's buying something that they know they could sell much, much, much higher because it's in high demand and there's no supply, right? So these guys were up there buying tons of chips. Now, I'm not suggesting CoreWeave does it. You could do your math. You could have your own conspiracy theory. But there are people who are buying these chips that are not directly going to hyperscalers, that are reselling them in other markets, and they can resell them at much, 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 much higher prices, which has always been going on with NVIDIA since they had the best chips or the best graphic cards just in video games, right? Which was 15, 20 years ago. So CoreWeave is basically a middleman. They're not the hyperscalers, if you guys don't know them. So they buy these chips, they sell them to AI developers or companies that need to build these machine learning systems. Now let's get back to Liang Wenfeng, the founder of DeepSeek. In a previous interview, okay, again, this is the second interview he's done. I haven't seen any. If you have, please send them to me, frankkurzioresearch.com. He also said that his biggest problem with this company is it's not funding, which makes sense, right? It doesn't care about the cost because you have the Chinese government backing you. Whenever you have a government backing you, you have unlimited costs. They don't care about how much money they spend. He said his biggest problem, this is a couple of years ago, biggest problem is getting NVIDIA's best chips. That was what his biggest problem. But all of a sudden, he doesn't need NVIDIA's best chips. All of a sudden, he's like, now, wow, we're building this model using their older chips. Also, on the day DeepSeek launched its model, the founder, according to sources, my sources, the founder had a closed-door meeting with China's government. Okay, this was broadcasted on primetime news in China. And you can say, why would it be on primetime? Because this model shows two things for China. It shows that China is ahead or on par with the U.S. in its AI race, which led to NVIDIA and every energy company, every AI company crashing on Monday. But also, more importantly, it shows that China is immune from the tariffs and export restrictions limiting NVIDIA's chips going to China. So it creates what? It creates this ultimate win for China, which is in a depression right now. It's a nightmare in fucking China right now. Whatever anyone tells you, whatever you read, it's much, much, much worse based on my contacts there. It's horrible in China. Real estate market's not even close to coming back. There's no bottom there. People would say it. You had Tepper come on. I love Tepper. I disagree with him strongly about China and stimulus. They've been announcing stimulus packages literally for over 2 years there, and it hasn't worked. If you don't believe me, just look at where the yuan is absolutely fucking crashing, right? I mean, the economy's terrible there. They're dying for a win. So how do we do it? The greatest technology in the world. Hey, we're suddenly leaders in one day. In one day, we're leaders. We're great. And we're more powerful than the U.S. It's a great win, right? That's why they had it on the national, television and during prime time. Also on the same day is when China suddenly said, hey, you know what? We have this malicious virus. Force them to take the model offline to overseas users. So again, not China users, but overseas users, anyone in the US, which is total horseshit. Because if you're claiming, I want you to use common sense here. Just use your common sense. If you claim to have the best AI model in the world that costs 20 times to 50 times less to operate than ChatGPT using 1/10 the power, that's what they're claiming. That means your company is immediately worth $100 billion plus. Hey, ChatGPT just did their capital raise, a new funding round 2 weeks ago, and it's over $150 billion valuation. They have 300 million users, weekly users for their model right now. Why would you not open up that model to the entire world immediately? Why? Because a malicious virus? Really? Come on. It's not even available, even if there was no malicious virus, because you need a number that's registered in China. You can't do it anyplace else overseas. So for China, my biggest question is this. Why not let people go in there and inspect this model to prove, to make it factual what you're claiming, since you lied about fucking everything ever in the last 15 years, every single thing you lie about? Why don't you have people, have like an Elon Musk, have whoever, Sam Altman, anybody, go in there and say, hey, the chips that these guys are actually using are older chips and they're powering DeepSeek, and this is the efficiency that we're getting. This way it's factual, because right now nobody knows and you won't show anyone because you won't do any interviews. Why is that? Why is that? But instead you decide to pull the whole model. Almost like, holy shit, this was really big enough to crash one of your enemy's markets by $1 trillion fucking dollars. So, I mean, it gets even better, but this is when I'm digging and going deeper and deeper. This is some of the stuff we're uncovering, and I'm going to uncover a lot more. But Daniel, I mean, you've been doing research on this as well. I mean, your thoughts on this in terms of, would you be buying some of these companies like in the Nvidias, or, maybe not today with Meta and Microsoft ready to report after the bell, but it seems like this could create an ultimate buying opportunity. And if not, if this is real, do you really see Nvidia coming down a lot more? I just think the risk reward is every single time Nvidia pulled back, every single time throughout the last 5 years on this massive freaking AI run, really the last 3 years, turned out to be the biggest buying opportunity. What are you doing here? Everybody wants to know.
Everybody wants to know.
The whole world wants to know. That's a big question.
I'm leaning towards, world, listen up. Lend me your ears. I'm leaning very heavily towards buying on this pullback, especially the power companies, Vistra Energy. Frank, for how many weeks did I rant and cry like a child on here about GE Vernova never coming down? Well, guess what? It went down 30 Florida% the other day, okay? Or whatever it dropped. So yes, my knee reaction is to look in and buy this. But as you said, I want to wait through some earnings. If I have a product that I can build for $6 million, you being Microsoft, say you're going to spend $80 billion this year. Meta's going to spend between 60 and 70, if memory serves me correct. As you said, they'll be addressing that later today. Yes, I do tend to want to be buyers, but Frank, I have a couple questions because what I thought was interesting, and this is an article from Take Him, TAE. So however you pronounce that. This is from the 27th, and this caught my attention because you were talking about the valuations and stuff. This gentleman says, if you believe the 6 million figure is true, that could be, as long as you do not include research and development funding, models, architecture, algorithms, data acquisition, employee salaries, buying GPUs, or test runs. So, if you break all that, and it's like inflation. Hey, if you take out a bunch of other shit, then it's not really that bad.
The core.
Okay? Yeah, it's kind of like
Strip
that.
out food and energy, which everyone uses every day of their life, and you have no inflation at all.
Another key point here, which caught my eye because when we were doing our YouTube and listening all of our stuff, it did catch me when the CEO of DeepSeek says, it's not a funding problem. Well, this gentleman, again, this is from the 27th, said that last week, China just announced plans to provide $137 billion in AI support.
Interesting.
Yes.
I didn't see that news.
But the Chinese, they overshoot, Frank. If you only need 6 million, why not do 137 billion? It just levels the runway a little bit more.
Yeah. It's kind of
and here's the other thing. I can't wait for the earnings. I know Tesla reports today. So Tesla, Meta, and Microsoft. Elon Musk is going to be outspoken and stuff. But I always thought the comments, the knee-jerk reactions from OpenAI, Nvidia, and even Pat Gelsinger, I always butcher that, the former Intel CEO, basically said this is all positive for AI going forward if this is true because it's going to open up the playing field and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So we're not saying that just because they're communist lying bastards, possibly, that nothing good has come out of this.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is that you're right. It's just not adding up. And, what's the old saying? If it's too good to be true, it might be. Because it's just, it is hard to believe. And yes, I would look to buy, to answer your question, Frank, and then we can move on to some wild stuff, is I would look to be buying the power plays and the nuts and bolts absolutely on this. NVIDIA being down today, listen, that's the big dog. It's going to, you drop 17% Monday, you rally 9 Tuesday, and now you're down 4 or 5 today. That's some serious volatility. Just be able to manage that emotionally. But do not give up on NVIDIA as this story is breaking because they're still the leader. And the model still needs NVIDIA to run, even though it's saying we've made some breakthroughs.
Yeah. To think they're going to cut spending. The biggest, if this is true, which I think, you want this in technology, right? You want costs to be lower. You saw that with computers. They used to be $3,000, $4,000. No one could afford them. You saw that with genetic testing was $100,000, right? When they just analyzed the first human genome, and then it came down tremendously. Where it's a few $100s to do this stuff now. You go to your phone, phones, cell phones are given away for free now. When you again return your old phone, your broken phone, or whatever. So you want this to happen, but still, it's the way this story hit is pretty crazy. I think a lot of it is fake to the point where they just stole another model. The fact that the open source part, guys, open source is the greatest thing in the world. Okay, this is why I hate the term metaverse, but the internet wasn't created for a few companies to own everything, where you can get suppressed if you're a conservative for YouTube, where you can get debanked like we did because we invested in the metaverse company. It's all we did. We don't even generate revenue from crypto, but we got kicked out of Bank of America, like so many other people. I didn't know that was a term, debank, until now it's all coming out. There's Horowitz and stuff. But open source is amazing because even when it allows everyone the freedom to do whatever they want to have this open world, right? And then build off of something, right? So that's really what hit the markets too, where I think Llama, and that's Meta's version, is open source as well. But when you're looking at this and they say open source, it's nothing but open. It's not open source, anything but. I mean, again, it means anyone can build off this model and make it better. And that means you're going to be more transparent. But is it transparency? Since 90% of the world's best developers and engineers can't fucking download this thing. They can't have access to it, right? Everything that you see on YouTube is access is people that are able to do it either very, very early on that have access, that has a Chinese telephone number that they can register. But if it's open source, you want everyone to have access to it and build off of it, and they can't do that, most people, because they pulled it. They basically pulled it. I'm going to go down this path with you, okay? And you guys could take it wherever you want because everyone loves conspiracy stuff, and I get it. But this has to be mentioned here because this is important. And now, first I was listening to this. I saw a Tucker Carlson interview, Daniel Starr as well. I don't know if you're familiar with Sushi Balaji. Okay, if you're not familiar with this person, November 26th, this person committed suicide. Now, who is this guy? He worked for OpenAI as a researcher. He's just 26 years old. He was in charge of training the data for OpenAI's large language model, which makes him one of the most important people at the company. Very, very super important job. He turned and became a whistleblower. He decided to resign in August 2024, and he was raising concerns about potential violations of the U.S. copywriting laws against OpenAI. He also had the documents to prove it. Now, is this a coincidence that a couple months later he committed suicide? Because we're starting to learn that Balaji traveled to China with his friends when he was a whistleblower, before he committed suicide. Where many believe, and there's good reporting on this if you want to go into Twitter, that he shared OpenAI's training work and all that data with DeepSeek. Then all of a sudden he suddenly commits suicide. This is one day after he celebrates his birthday. People don't do that after they celebrate their birthday. Usually that birthday is a very great event, unless no one showed up to his birthday. But they said, and his mom said, he's in great spirits, had no idea where this came from. And then when they determined he committed suicide, there's reports that say it was anywhere from 14 minutes to 40 minutes to determine that he committed suicide, like that. There's other reports that said they saw the room and there's blood that wasn't, again, there's a lot of people looking into this. Even Elon Musk has come out and said this needs to be investigated. The senators are saying it needs to be investigated. There's just too much coincidence here. And in the middle of this is the guy that goes to China. I think he left from San Francisco with a couple of his friends. And then all this stuff happens. And then, DeepSeek, pretty much after November, 2 months later, releases all this data and everything, right? And now we know, even from some of these sources where, we could speculate, but a lot of stuff has been removed from YouTube, suppressed from China, that, hey, we were asking, this system, it's API, it says ChatGPT. Who are you? It says ChatGPT. So it's almost like a copycat. Is that a coincidence to connect those dots? I don't know, but it's worth mentioning. Because when I look at this and you say, really, Frank? I mean, could this really happen? Suicide? This guy, I've seen people, we've all seen these stories of people getting killed for $10,000. This is $1 trillion man. This is a $1 trillion person. $1 trillion, what's that worth to you? Especially for China in depression of being able to steal all this stuff and get it out. So I know it seems like conspiracy shit, but when you throw in the numbers and a guy was able to just from this company and this news able to crash a market by $1 trillion and put China, which is just, again, look at the Yuan, horrible depression, to suddenly say, hey, you know what? We're in this AI race, the biggest technology in the world. You guys better worry. Hey, we don't have to worry about all this bullshit and tariffs from the U.S. We have nothing to worry about. No. We're fine. We could do this with low power. Again, this is what Timu's about. It's what their model is with steel, with commodities. It's flood the markets with cheaper shit and put everyone else out of business. That's the model it's always been for China. So this is the same exact thing. So I would like to look more into that. I think it needs to be investigated. It's why his mom is saying, hey, we need a further investigation. There's a great interview. Again, we know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, and Tucker Carlson's great at telling those type of stories. Listen to that. It's very interesting, that interview with his mom. So again, remember what the tech guy from China said on YouTube that got banned. when he asked DeepSeek, who are you? It said ChatGPT. When he asked for the API, it gave the exact replica of ChatGPT's model, right? So my takeaways from this, Daniel, China has lied about everything all the time. Now they're saying their small, tiny team of engineers was able to spend $6 million on a system that was the biggest companies in the world in America spent over $200 billion, $300 billion on so far in the past couple of years, who have thousands of the smartest engineers on the planet, that these guys outsmarted them. I mean, it makes sense for them to say that this only costs $6 million, 20 times more energy efficient, whatever the number is, because maybe it'll slow down spending from these bigger players because they're falling further behind. Not to mention, have you heard, Daniel? I haven't heard one hyperscaler come out and say like anything about this. They haven't said, oh, wow, look at this new breakthrough. And like, we're going to hear that today. We're going to hear that today from 3 companies, including Elon Musk, who's going to report to Tesla. Again, that's going to be the first question that everyone asks in the Q&A. And we're going to know by tonight of what's going on and should they fear it and this is a good thing, or because they have to answer it. Zuckerberg has to say, you know what, believe me, you need to spend this much money. There's no way you could have something like this. They're all going to say it because it's very big. It impacts their business and impacts their stock. Let's see. Or maybe they're like, hey, it could be great news for them. You think they want to spend 60 to 80 to $100 billion a year on this if they could do it cheaper? I just find it hard that thousands of these developers, the smartest people, the engineers in AI are spending this money, and yet you have China, which is a place that's lied about everything, about how terrible their economy is, about their GDP, about stealing our IP for decades, about Wuhan, COVID, about how terrible their real estate market is. I mean, they suppress everything. They throw their citizens in jail if they speak out against their deep state. They're arresting people for not paying back taxes, which apparently are unfounded claims. You got to see those videos and all the ones that get removed because they need money so bad. And it's a disaster in China. It hasn't been this bad since the 1990s banking crisis. The government's been trying to stimulate the economy through numerous stimulus plans for 2 years. They can't do it. You're looking at an economy that's in a depression that's very, very desperate. And it has to factor into everything because we don't have the facts. We're trying to connect the dots. And this is the biggest story on the planet right now since it's destroyed $1 trillion in market cap. So this is what we uncovered so far. Bill Ackman, did you see this? He chimed in yesterday on Twitter. Say, what are the chances that DeepSeek AI's hedge fund affiliate made a fortune yesterday with short-dated puts on Nvidia, the power companies? I mean, he said
that's a good one.
Right, which is really good, and a fortune could have been made.
Oh, yeah.
It's not too difficult to see, right? Everything. Never inside trade, guys. I know you think you can get away with it. Everything gets recorded. It's very, very hard. You got to report everything. If you're small, you might get away with it. But even now with short sellers, I think it's, if it's more than 1.5% or 2% of the float, you have to disclose. That's why all these short sellers are actually going out of business. It's almost impossible to short stocks these days. But when I look at all this data and the facts as a research analyst, there's just so many questions that I kind of wish this is true because it's going to be great for AI. It's going to be great for smaller companies, for mid-tier companies to really be able to use AI and not depend on all these companies who are integrating it with their cloud that you're going to have to use, right? Just like these cloud companies, right? You need to use all of them and constantly be paying these fees for the rest of your life, especially on the enterprise level. I would love for this to be true, but there's just too many holes here. There's just too many holes. Yeah. And again, frankcurzioresearch.com. I want to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you, Daniel, too. But my takeaways when it comes to this stock is I think NVIDIA is a buying opportunity here. Everyone's going to continue to buy their chips. They're in high demand for the next 2-3 years. I don't see that changing anytime soon. It matters who the race to first is. That's why they're spending so much money. Models like this can't get developed unless these other models develop first, and you can have copycats off of them. So how do we expect to go even better? Like you said, like the teacher and the student example, right?
Yep.
The power companies, let's see. That's going to be a big deal. Let's see if we could do something that's less, it requires less power. That's fantastic. Because right now, I went over the power statistics with you. Dan went over them. We've been talking about this podcast. We went over the newsletters. Holy shit. I mean, you have no idea how much power we need. We can't fulfill the infrastructure requirements. We just don't have enough money. We don't have enough infrastructure and to build this, which takes a long, long time to build. I mean, 3 Mile Island's 3 Mile Island's already built. Just to get it restarted, it's going to take 5 years. That's without the permitting for state, local, federal, all that stuff. And then Microsoft bought 20 years of electricity after that. So if you have any thought of and all these SMRs and stuff like that the portable nuclear reactors, I mean, there's only 3 in the world, guys. It's like 2 in Russia and 1 in China. If you think that technology is going to be here less than 7 years, you're absolutely crazy. And companies are investing hundreds of millions of dollars in that technology, even billions. That's how dire the need for energy is right now. So if we could have anything that helps us out on that front, that's tremendous. But this story is definitely the biggest story in the market, and we needed to cover it. And I'm sure a lot of data you hear in here, you're not hearing anyplace else. We really dug in, and we want to hear from you about it. But, anyway.
Yeah, just two things, or maybe real quick, Frank. And I encourage everybody to listen to this because, like I said, we have fun, and everybody says, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory." Well, this is a good time for conspiracies because lately conspiracies have proven to be 100% correct.
You're right.
And two takeaways from that: Tucker Carlson interview with the mother of the gentleman who is deceased. On that interview, she said they are still paying the rent for the condo or apartment he was in. It's not been touched. There's still to be kind, there's still the remarks of the way it was left. So there's still blood everywhere in the apartment. The crazy thing about the suicide is that there's blood everywhere in the apartment, I guess. So evidently the gentleman tried to kill himself and then wandered around the house and got blood or condo or apartment. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of things there for the conspiracy. There's another. The family hired a private investigator. He is George Webb, real George Webb with 2 B's, 1 at Twitter. He's posting a lot of stuff about his presentation about the quote unquote suicide and or murder, about $1 trillion hit because of the DeepSeek. And Frank, what's wild here is that we have to wait for it to play out. But I want to see if you would agree. The narrative is basically this gentleman lost his life because of a whistleblowing, and that might not be correct at all if it's tied to something related to secrets and deep state. I mean, that is absolutely mind-blowing. So watch that and look for yourself on that side, because that is just crazy. The other side on the power consumption, maybe we do finally get a revision downward, because as we've joked, the revisions for power, gigawatts, what we need capacity, has only gone higher. Okay. And just this week, we had Chevron, who I love. I can't not think about Frank Curzio when he talks about Chevron, because Chevron and Palantir and stuff. But Chevron got together with who? GE Vernova. And they're starting to build stuff because of the power consumption. Again, my knee-jerk reaction is, along with Frank's, hey, this is kind of hard to believe for what they're selling. Why would Chevron continue to make partnerships with GE Vernova? I mean, I guess if you ask Daniel Creech to dumb this down, do I really think that OpenAI, Meta, Microsoft, Chevron, all these guys across energy and AI had no idea that this was about to hit on Saturday, and now they're just shell-shocked, and everybody's going to look into a room and ask each other, hey, well, I guess we were a little off. What do we do now? I just don't think we're there yet. So there's still going to be a lot of stuff coming out on this. Hopefully it does get investigated and get the limelight shone on it. But until we get major power revisions, I don't know how you don't look at these as a hell of a buying opportunity to at least start some positions.
I know. Right now you have all the engineers, right? All these developers of AI, they're all trying to get a hold of the system and see, what they can learn, right? That's what everyone does in technology. Once you're able to disrupt, everyone wants a part of it, see how to do it, and have copycat models or build off of it or whatever. There's certainly positives to this, and I think it's really good for China, but I think it's completely overblown to lose $1 trillion in market cap, suggest that we're not going to need enough, 20 times less power, 6 million that really cost $100 million plus to build these systems, which is crazy. And not to mention that they are not allowed, China, to have and to get NVIDIA's state-of-the-art chips dating back to like the H100s. Just to put that in perspective, what is the H100s? And then you have the Blackwells, and now you have the next generation of chips coming out. I mean, they're 3 generations ahead of like in AMD, which is why you're seeing all these downgrades for AMD. I mean, no one's even close to them. There's no competition. I went to the Consumer Electronics Show. This was a couple weeks ago, and saw that presentation with Jensen Huang and got in, luckily, because I had to cut the freaking line, because it was literally 15,000 people. It was 40,000 people there. So, I mean, sorry, good reporting, but, I usually don't do stuff like that. But I was able to get in there and listen to it, and holy shit. I mean, he didn't talk about his competition, because there's no competition for NVIDIA right now. There's no competition. Everyone's just light years behind, especially it's not just chips. It's not just building the hardware. It's the software behind it, the whole infrastructure, and to knock down all the infrastructure and use someone else. It's like it's like getting rid of all your pictures on the cloud on the iPhone because you're going to go to Samsung. And are you really going to do that? I mean, that's how difficult it is for everyone to catch up. And what they've done is remarkable. It's forward-looking technology. They hate sharing their secrets. These guys are like, we're partnering with everybody. We have the best. We're going to partner with everybody. Collaboration with everybody. Unbelievable of what they've done. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, this could be a great buying opportunity, but let's see. More data has to come out. Again, this is something that I think most people, not most people like the hyperscalers, And maybe the hyperscalers, they won't have to spend that much, but we want this to be more energy efficient. We want everyone to be able to have access to this. We want every company and enterprise level to have access to this, to make it easier, to make it more efficient for us, right? To increase productivity, which is going to result in an increase in profits. We all want that, but there's a lot of bullshit around this story. And you're talking about the number one place where bullshit is invented is China, and they lie about everything. So, keep your guard up. We'll keep following the story. If you guys have any information, anything at all, frankcurzioresearch.com. Dan, what's your email?
Daniel@curzioresearch.com.
Yeah. So, guys, that's it for us. And once again, tomorrow you can catch us. One, we're going to be working really hard because we have a podcast tomorrow. It's Wall Street Unplugged Premium earnings season. We're going to break down what Microsoft says, what Tesla says, what Meta says. We're reporting after the close. Also, I'm going to break down earnings season so far. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you why the whole entire world will disagree with me. But again, I'm going to put numbers behind it of why our market is more cheaper today than it's been in the last 2 years.
Look at Frank going out on a limb.
On a limb. That's the beginning part. And then that's going to happen. You get access to that podcast probably in late afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock. And then tomorrow, 7 p.m., go to CurzioCrypto.com to register. It's absolutely free. Please listen to what we have to say. A lot of you guys have a lot of our products. You subscribe to our services. Daniel and I are always there. We're doing our products and services. We don't have other people doing. We do lots of videos. I really want everyone to be into crypto. It should have an allocation for a portion of your speculative capital. It has to, because you cannot see the gains in the markets, in a stock market, or almost any other asset class that you could see in crypto. We've experienced this. I've experienced personally because of the gains I've made. I was able to build a brand new house, a huge house in one of the best neighborhoods in Jacksonville because of crypto. This is the opportunity you're going to see. It's not just Bitcoin, again, not just Solana, not just Ethereum and some of the big guys. This is all these underlying technologies that no one would ever touch. That's what they are, the software companies. There's a lot of bullshit meme tokens. I'm not talking about that. But these underlying technologies are incredibly, incredibly disruptive to finance, an industry that's never really been disruptive. It's a boys club. Now that you have all the regulation, now you're going to have more money. Now you're going to have more ICOs coming out, which completely stopped. Tokenization is going to be massive, which we tokenized our company 4 or 5 years ago. Which were very ahead of the party when we did that. Now we're seeing demand. We're seeing more liquidity on a T0 platform, which gives you a direct representation, just like a stock. You own a piece of our company, right? So if we get taken over, you're going to benefit. It's not, the utility token. But the regulation that's coming, which is going to be very good, the regulatory framework, and we're going to cover all this in a 10, 15-minute presentation. Daniel and I are going to be having a Q&A. We've lasted 2 hours. I hope everybody hangs up before that. Because we're talking about 9, 10 o'clock at night. But, we're there for you. And usually we get, a lot of people to go to this and see, free, again, it's a free webinar. But they stay on because the Q&A is really a lot of fun. Daniel and I just really are going to really tell how it is. We're drinking beers, we're having fun, and it's really cool. And feel free to ask any of your questions. And you have the right to ask that question once you sign up to CurzioCrypto.com. You can ask your question, usually first come, get to see the questions too, and we'll respond to a lot of them because a lot of you have been listeners and subscribers to our work for a long, long time. And we like being there for you. So the whole thing's free. If you guys want to attend, please attend. If not, then hopefully you'll see our podcast tomorrow, which is coming out and being released, 3, 4 p.m., Daniel? Sometime around Wall Street Unplugged Premium? Something like that.
Yeah, give or take.
So busy day tomorrow.
We'll be there between 2 and 5.
Busy, crazy day tomorrow. And that's it for us. And hopefully you join us tomorrow for everything that's going on. I'll see you then. Take care. Love this episode of Wall Street Unplugged? I think you'll really love Wall Street Unplugged Premium. The Wall Street Unplugged Premium is my members-only podcast where I dive even deeper into this week's events. Well, I'll do even more than tell you what's moving these markets. I'll tell you specifically what moves you can make today. So this is going to be about trading. Put big money in your pocket right away due to the inconsistencies I see daily in the market. I'm talking about specific investment ideas I'm recommending and tracking each week that I believe will be impacted directly by everything I just talked about today. Plus, you're going to get the chance to go even further down the rabbit hole with me and my co-host, who's Daniel Creech, as we discuss which of these week's trends could turn into massive windfalls. Could the big trends that we see lurking on the horizon, also the news we're picking up from our network of insiders, which has gotten bigger and bigger thanks to you and so many people listening to this podcast in over 100 countries. And you get a chance to talk to me directly in my special Ask Me Anything Q&A session. All of that and a lot more, like premium interviews with world leaders in finance, technology, industry, and politics. This is all part of Wall Street Unplugged Premium. And becoming a member is super simple and super cheap. So head on over to WSUoffer.com to check it all out. Sign up today, and you won't miss a thing. That's WSUoffer.com.
Wall Street Unplugged is produced by Curzio Research, one of the most respected financial media companies in the industry. The information presented on Wall Street Unplugged is the opinion of its host and guests. You should not base your investment decisions solely on this broadcast. Remember, it's your money and your responsibility.